Welcome to Design Your Day. Thanks for choosing to be here with us in this conversation. I wanted to introduce you to a talented and creative visionary photographer. She's an Austin-based wedding and elopement photographer who has a moody, rich, and deep tone style photography. She is Rebekah Paul of Rebekah Paul Photography. Hi, Rebekah.
Hey, Carrie.
Thanks for being here. I know that you have been super busy with weddings this year and so much more experience. I was on your Instagram account and I was sort of like floating in this sea of beauty that is your Instagram account. And I came across this post where you said that you were talking about how you had never thought that you'd ever be a photographer. Like it had never crossed your mind.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering like what brought you to being a photographer? Because clearly it's a talent and you're thriving in it. So what brought you here?
Well, that is a very good question that I may struggle keeping short. But no, I can do it. So I came from a nursing background in 2012. That's when I graduated as a registered nurse. And I worked in a middle management position for a long time with the company. And I was stressed out to my core. And my husband had started a photography business. We actually started it. He started it. I helped him for about 8 years ago. And all that time I was a nurse. I had to drop out of it, out of photography because I was a little too stressed out. And I had that association of like stress and photography and I didn't want anything to do with it. I think though that deep down inside, I've always been a creative individual. All the way through high school, I was always involved in some sort of art classes, theater. Like I just loved it all. I loved the idea of escaping through some sort of creative medium. And I do think that part of me kind of wilted away for a while I was in nursing. And when I got to this point where I just couldn't do it anymore, I needed to run away. I needed to get out of nursing. Photography was there for me again. And I said, okay, I guess I'll do it. That was kind of my attitude. I guess I'll do this. Anything is better than how stressed out I am in this, management position. And of course it was scary because making that jump as financially is terrifying. But I jumped on board, started the business, my own business, and, helped Juan with his and stuff. And I just fell in love with it. I fell in love first, I think, with the connection that I had with other people. And I fell in love with giving people an experience with a professional photographer, giving them a good experience with a professional photographer for the first time. That kind of gave me a spark that I needed and to get better with my human-to-human connection and helping them create something unique. And so that was just like the foundation of my love for it, and it's grown since. And so, yeah, that's how I'm here.
Well, clearly it was a good leap. I'm so glad you took it. So, in that human relationship, in this connection, is there one thing you find when working with your couples that you feel like that you both sort of like jive on or connect on, and then that you get to move forward?
Yeah, I don't know if I can like pinpoint it to one sort of thing, but I do think it's imperative for me to connect and for also it to be like reciprocated. I think that if there's not a connection between the person who you're trusting to take pictures of you, and I think I'll go into it a little more. I don't believe personally that pictures are just pictures. I think that that's a very shallow way to look at photography. So that aside, I think that when you have a connection with your photographer and the photographer has a connection with you, you're able to produce something that is far more authentic than just taking a picture. And it's something that you can bring into the future and that future generations can look upon and see who you were. So, yeah.
So if pictures aren't just pictures, then what are they?
I think they're legacies. I literally have that in my Instagram bio. I take my job very seriously. They're little legacies. And it started when I was scrolling through Facebook and my grandmother has a Facebook.
That's so cool.
It is cool. It's so
a modern
cute.
woman.
She's so cute. She's like 87 and she has a Facebook. And she posted a photo of her parents, my great-grandparents, and she was one of, I believe, like 6 or 8 kids. And there was a group of them, her sisters, standing, and her parents were over their shoulder, you know, kind of embracing them in a sort of way, taking a picture. Old picture, like black and white, had scratches on it, you know, and they had graduated high school. And I had the blessing to meet my great-grandparents. There was a language barrier, so I can't say that I knew them personally, but I met them several times during holidays. And when I saw that picture, it stopped me mid-scroll, which is hard to do on social media. Right? So I stopped me mid-scroll and I stared at the image for like 8 or 10 minutes. And I couldn't stop looking at it because I felt so connected. Like, those were my people, that's my blood. And I could see, like, you know, of course, genetic, physical resemblance between us.
Sure.
And I started to look deeper and I'm like, wow, my great-grandparents were somebody who had kids that were proud. They were so proud of, like, you could see it in their faces, and it really touched me. I got emotional, and that was the point, I think, that solidified that I really love photography. Like, this is what I want to give people. And I don't care if anybody knows my name, you know, 30, 40, 60, 70 years from now. That's not the point. The goal is for the people that I haven't met, the people that don't exist yet, to feel connected to an image that I in some way helped create. Yeah, so.
Wow. I'm getting like this visual of like just this ripple effect, you know. It's not like the things you say, it's the effect that you have that carries on generations and generations. That's so beautiful.
It's powerful.
It is. When you think about the connection of that, when you think about the power of that, through photographing a wedding, like, it's that big, it's that deep.
It's it's that beginning of forever with you, and it's really cool. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. So in that, you know, like, can you tell me a little bit about your client or your couple journey, like when they're working with you, if they're like not on board right away, is there ever, I'm thinking of like a turning point. Is there a typical turning point where they just totally trust you and let you do what you do?
Yeah, it happens when you get to know them. I think I recently had an interaction on a Zoom call. So me personally, when I get an inquiry, I set up a Zoom call right away to get to know them, no obligation, all that stuff, because I don't want to scare people away. But I ask them a lot of questions outside of, like, when's your wedding? Like, how did the proposal go? And, you know, those kinds of things. Like, I ask, you know, who are you as an individual, and where are you going, and where did you come from? And I had one of the, you know, future grooms ask me, all the photographers that we've talked to, no one's asked us questions about ourselves. Like, why do you do that? And I told them that it's because I feel that responsibility of giving you something that's going to go into generations upon generations, and I have to know who you are in order to do that authentically. So I think that sometimes that resonates with people. I think the type of client that I'm attracting, it does resonate with them. That of course being the point. But there are some people that it's okay. It doesn't resonate with them. They're like, I really just want, like, comprehensive pictures at my wedding. I'm really not looking for a legacy, you know? Yeah. And that's okay. That really is okay. I'm not their photographer, but when I start asking these deep and personal questions, they're like, oh, why do you want to know? Like, it's a little weird. You know, that might be a point where they don't, you know, reach out, and that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think that's probably why Rebekah and I resonate so much, is because we both just like to, like, dive deep and get in there and get to know who we're working with. I love it. So this is really, this just feels really sweet. So in photography, and you know, you've got so much experience, especially over this past year, you've got so much experience being so busy. What are 3 up-and-coming trends that you see happening in the photography world? Yeah,
I think that there is a couple of different types of photographers out there. I think I went really depth into the type of photographer I am. I would categorize it as like storytelling photography. So, like I said, it's a storytelling photographer is somebody who wants to go a little deeper. Like, we know that the wedding is just like the pinnacle of everything that happened in years that I wasn't around, or like I wasn't there to witness. So I want to know all of that, so I know what's important here at the peak. And I think that storytelling photographers go into that, so that way we know what's like, who is super important there, like who your grandparents are, and like how far did they come to, you know, see your wedding, and just details that are very important to us. And the type of shooting is, you know, there's always something happening in the image. We're shooting things that might seem like, why are you shooting this right now? You know, like, this is kind of weird, but it makes sense in the story. Setting up location, like taking a wide shot of where we're at, or buildings that are surrounding the venue, or birds that are flying in the air, you know, because it's relevant to the location. It kind of sets the scene. This is a type of photography that I think you would see. You would put a slideshow together and it would make sense. It feels like you're there. It's immersive. So individually, the photos might be weird. Like, why did you take pictures of the pigeons? Well, because, you know, we're in New York and pigeons are a big deal. You know, like, they're everywhere in New York. So you're setting the stage for where you're at and what's happening. And so when you actually get into the wedding, it all makes sense and you feel like you're there. So that's what storytelling photography is. I think there's another type of photography that's really big right now, and it's, I might have trouble explaining it, but I think that art is very subjective, and storytelling, of course, is an art form in its own, but I mean more like something you would see in a museum. There's a photograph that there was so much production behind it, so much technical aspects. You're using things like reflectors and prisms, and they look so cool. Like, I'm not gonna lie, they're very, and I kind of got into it a little bit, and I realized, whoa, there's a lot of production in this. I think I'm okay. Use of like LED lights, and there's a lot of photographers that do that so well. They're strong in their technical skills, and some people like that. They want an image that they can just blow up huge and have over their bed, and it was, you know, it's an art piece. It really is, and you're just in it. I think that's a style of photography that won't be going away and that will always be relevant. But yeah, I think, and then we have also I think something that's up and coming right now is like a film style of photography. It's funny because it's up and coming, but it's super old. And some people will actually bring like a film camera with them as well as a digital camera and take pictures on film for that like grainy, vintage kind of look. And then also there's things that we can do to manipulate a digital file to make it look like that. And I'm seeing that up and coming as well.
So I was just thinking about like the different types, the different approaches to photography, where the storytelling, when you're talking, I'm feeling like immersed in the total experience, and it's almost like embodied. Like, I can feel it in my body. I can have an experience again and again and again of it, versus this sort of like, I don't want this to sound horrible. I like to put on the show. You know, like, I like the production. I like the and that is dependent on what kind of bride and what kind of experience the bride wants to have at her wedding. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
100%. Yeah.
Awesome.
Let me elaborate on that. So I think a good example, like a practical example, is the bride who there's some people that are, tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. And those might lean more towards production, that like to be positioned and, you know, really want to look good, make sure that they look good in front of the camera. And that is great. That's not my strength. I think my strength is I'll walk into a bridal suite, you know, when I come to a wedding, and I'll say, treat me like furniture. Like, just, you know, I want to be in the background. I want to be in the flower and the wall. I don't want to interrupt what's going to happen. I don't want to potentially ruin an organic moment. So that being the different type of approach for people who don't want to. I know personally, I don't want to be told what to do. Like don't interrupt. Yeah, like, right, what human wants to be. But some people do. In this setting, some people do. They want to make sure that they look good. Like, that's important to them, and I respect that. Yeah. For me personally, I don't want to be interrupted for what might naturally happen. Their emotions are high on a wedding day, and especially me being an emotional person. I don't want to be stuttered you know, when I'm about to see my father, you know, my father's going to see me on the first time in my full wedding dress. I don't want to be, whoa, okay, stop. Like, let's put you by the window. Let's do this. That, for me, I don't like that. And I don't want to impose that on my brides, but you have to be okay to let that go as well. Mm-hmm. So if you're the type of person, bride or groom, that doesn't want to be stuttered or stopped and just let things happen, then there's a photographer for you for that. And then if you're somebody who really wants to be sure that you look good and that, you know, every photo is Instagram worthy, then there's a photographer for you. And that's the great thing. Yeah. So, yeah.
So if I can speak to that a little bit, have you noticed a distinction in the styles of weddings or the kinds of weddings that, like, there's, for example, like in your storytelling, do you find that in your storytelling approach, do you find that you do more one kind of style or a handful of kinds of weddings versus, I'm thinking, like, is the artistic more like a luxury bride and the,
okay.
like that?
That's hard to say because I've had some luxury, what would be like your standard luxury bride, mm-hmm. Or person, like, come to me and want a storytelling approach. So there is like some kind of hybridization in there. Uh-huh. You know, I think it's natural for everybody to be like, can you tell me what to do? I don't know what to do. And it's good to know a little bit of both in certain situations. People get nervous and they're, you know, I don't know what to do with my hands, or does it look funny if I put my hands in my pocket, and to be able to direct them. But I think there's a mix. I can't say that like there's one specific bride that likes this one specific thing. Okay. But yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah, that was clarifying for me. I mean, I kind of had this vision and that the bride that likes to be positioned is more of a, I just think of like fine art and luxury, that, if it's like that, but maybe not so much.
I think a good way to explain this would be like, maybe all luxury brides want a production, but not all people who want production are luxury brides. And same thing in storytelling, you know.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. I've learned something. Thanks, Rebekah.
Yes, absolutely.
Would you be able to describe the kind of couple that loves working with you, that really resonates with your work?
Yeah, I mean, if I could be very specific, like they always say in business, like, who's your ideal client? Give them a name, give them a face, what they like to do. Mm-hmm. But I'll keep it general. But I think that they're usually like early 30s, mid 30s is mm-hmm. the client. Because I feel like I'm in my early 30s, and I think there's a maturity and there is a different type of perspective that you have in your 30s, because you've been through life a little bit more. Right. Mm-hmm. And you've kind of, you know, experienced life a little bit more. And a wedding is a little bit more than a party. It can be just a party, but there's an appreciation for the people who made it happen and who brought you to where you were. There might be people there who introduced you two together. And so there's just a little more consideration for the depth. And I think that's the person who there's a mutual pleasure in working with together, because that's what I want to know and that's what they want me to capture.
Rebekah, thanks for being here. We're so glad. You've given us so much to inspire and think about.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Thanks. So you can check out more of Rebekah's service packages in the links below. And we always want to hear your questions and your comments about planning and designing your day. You can leave those in the comments below. And remember to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.